I'd like to welcome you to another reading of Prophecy in the News, as written by Nicholas from remnantofgod.org. And today we're going to be covering from July 27th to August 4th. And I do want to apologize for missing last week. I was really exhausted and tired, and that's also the reason why I link you to this website with every single weekly video I do, so that if I don't get to a week's reading, then all the information is right there. All you gotta do is just click on the link that I give you and then follow along. But I do tend to, I do try to keep up to date as much as possible, as much as I can, and I just want to apologize up front for missing last week. Also on my broadcast, I am gonna be starting to do either a weekly or bi-weekly. Obviously, it's bi-weekly. I do have a broadcast coming up Saturday, in which we're going to talk about some current events about the beast out of the earth that is promoting the beast out of the sea. We're going to talk about some recent events that's going on with that, and also the aspect that we are roughly, we're roughly a little over a month away, about 6 weeks before the man of sin, the Antichrist, the son of perdition, the biblical, historical, prophetic Antichrist, comes to speak at a joint session of Congress in September. So there's going to be a lot of interesting things that's going to be going on, I do believe, between now and September. We also have the last of the blood moon eclipses, lunar eclipses, in September, roughly in the same week as this man of sin, as this Antichrist, the Antichrist, comes to these shores. So let's go ahead and get started. There's going to be a lot of videos here within this broadcast, and so without further ado, let's go ahead and read the first article. This is out of BostonHerald.com. Marty Walsh. This is history here in Vatican. Quote, Boston Mayor Martin J. Walsh, who was one of 35 mayors who traveled to Rome, was awestruck after his meeting with Pope Francis yesterday, telling Boston Herald Radio's Tyler Sullivan on Fargo Street that he had an incredible opportunity to hear the pontiff discuss human trafficking and global warming. In Walsh's own words, he describes the experience, quote, it's hard to put in words, When the Pope came in the room, everyone just clapped to him walking in. And then after a few seconds, complete silence. And I think everyone was in awe of the Pope and seeing the Pope. People are like awestruck of this man. Even though he is the prophesied man of sin, Antichrist, and these types of things, but folks, he's just a human being. He's nothing to be awestruck over. But the world is deceived. And we live in a land of confusion within the Christian church, within the church. So first and foremost, why are United States city mayors meeting with the Pope? Do you study prophecy? Do you know what time it is? No? Okay, to quickly summarize, they were handpicked, all 35 of them, because the Vatican assumes these mayors will obey and have meetings all over the USA via teleconferencing or even face-to-face regarding the Vatican's long prophesied agenda regarding climate change that will, of course, allow them to control all nations city by city so as to be able to enforce the mark of the beast. The testing grounds and first to implement the mark is obviously the USA. Reason being is, of course, our superior technology already in place that will be used to try, I emphasize the word try here, and stop the loud cry prophecy, says will go forth that not only exposes the man of sin in Rome, it alerts the masses as to what the mark of the beast really is. And I do want to apologize, my mouse is just jumping like crazy. I don't know why it's doing that, so this is going to be kind of a hard video to get through. Okay. Seeing how Rome knows what the Lord plans to do in the coming days, because they do hear our message just as much as anyone else does, they need to have everything set in place to try and prevent the majority from hearing the truth we preach, just as the Philistines did with Goliath, so as to assume foolishly, of course, that they will be able to prevent or at least slow the prophesied loud cry from doing what they know and will do. So why were they clapping? Well, that's easy. It has to do with Revelation 13:3-4, prophesied 2,000 years ago. It said, "And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wandered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him?" All throughout history, the Roman Catholic Church has appealed to the masses merely because sin is very appealing to the lost, who think if they just say they know Jesus, they will gain heaven. See Isaiah 4:1. Most will say that Rome must be the true church because of its immense size, but looking to Scripture, one can see that size is a true giveaway that it is the prophesied evil church most wonder after in the last days. Case in point, all the world thought Noah and his family were wrong about the coming flood and the end of the world. Only 8 people on the planet were walking with God at that time. As always, a majority on this dying world is to be those that are friends with the world. And so when one of them stand on top of the world as a leader in worldliness, as all the popes have done, most will wander after him, as the Lord said they would. And obviously, I mean, you just got to think of the agenda of the papacies. Not only is it ecclesial, but it's also political. And, when it comes to politics, folks, we as a church, we are not to have anything to do with the policies and the politics of this world. And as long as governments and as long as kings and queens are not going against the standard of God, we are to oblige by those powers. All you gotta do, to case in point, is just look at Daniel. But at the same time, we have to realize that our kingdom is not on this earth. We serve a king whose kingdom is not of this world. So those that follow after this king, the King of Kings, Jesus Christ, have to acknowledge that same aspect. Okay? Not get all tangled up with, politics and gun grabbing and these types of things. It's all really what it is. It's all distraction. That's really what it is, what it boils down to. Next article. And this is a video, so let's go ahead and watch it. Out of USA Today. Make sure I had the right one.
I believe in the principle of treating people equally under the law, and that they are deserving of equal protection under the law, and that the state should not discriminate against people based on their sexual orientation. If you look at the history of countries around the world, when you start treating people differently, not because of any harm they're doing anybody, but because they're different, that's the path whereby freedoms begin to erode. And bad things happen.
The fact of the matter is that Kenya and the United States, we share so many values. Our common love for democracy, entrepreneurship, value for families. These are things that we share. But there are some things that we must admit we don't share. Our culture, our societies don't accept. It's very difficult for us to be able to impose on people that which they themselves do not accept. This is why I repeatedly say that For Kenyans today, the issue of gay rights is really a non-issue. We want to focus on other areas that are day-to-day living for our people. The health issues that we have discussed with President Obama, these are critical. Issues of ensuring inclusivity and of women, a huge section of society that is normally left out of the mainstream of economic development. What we can do in terms of infrastructure, what we can do in terms of education, in terms of our roads, in terms of giving our people power, encouraging entrepreneurship. These are the key focuses. Maybe once, like you have overcome some of these challenges, we can begin to look at new ones. But as of now, the fact remains that this issue is not really an issue that is on the foremost mind of Kenyans, and that is the fact.
Okay.
Take.
All right. So when I saw this video, I had to applaud the Kenyan president for standing up against Obama's strange agenda. Obama gets on camera and tries to push Rome's homosexual agenda or sodomite agenda, thereby forcing a response from the president of Kenya. Directly after Obama speaks, the president of Kenya openly and boldly disagrees with him before his entire nation and before the world via satellite. And again, I applaud that man for having the courage and the moral stature to declare what's much more important to his people, wherein it has nothing to do with what some people like to do in their bedrooms. Seriously, so this is to be Obama's global message to all the world for the American people? He sidesteps all the wars, Christians being slaughtered, economies crashing from nation to nation, crime rates off the charts, drug use is skyrocketing, suicide rates are at an all-time high, and children the world over are being indoctrinated into all sorts of strange political agendas, and Obama's number one issue for the world today is to declare every nation must allow people to be able to perform sexual acts the Bible declares to be an abomination, and the majority of society still declares to be immoral and dangerous to the spiritual well-being of those trapped in such a lifestyle. Is this how the world now sees America today? With all that's going on in the world, we are promoted as being a nation more focused on the sexual desires of the sodomites living among us. Seriously? And I couldn't have said it better myself. I really cannot comment further on this article. So let's go ahead and jump to the next one, which is another video. So let's go ahead and check this video out. This is actually from the webmaster of this site, so. Move this over just a tad. There we go.
Video, I want to share with you something most people are completely unaware of. Yes, we all know that Satan is an evil being, and the statue that they just erected in Detroit is in fact disgusting. But before showing you that statue, I'd like for you to see a couple of pictures that may enlighten you as to who is really behind all the evil that is in the world today. All right? Okay, check out this statue. And notice the hand and the way the hand's being held. Okay? This is actually the original statue in the pagan church called Jupiter. The Vatican, of course, renamed it St. Peter. Look at the foot. Notice how there are no features of the foot in regards to the toes. I mean, look at the other foot. You can see all the toes and the toenails and stuff like that. But that foot is so worn down because billions of people have kissed it. This thing's about 4 feet off the ground. So the Roman Catholics come by and they kiss it or touch it. Lips have actually worn down that bronze statue. All right, that's how many people have been deceived into worshiping statues. Okay, but now look at this. This is Hitler's Pope. This is the Pope that helped Hitler do the things that he did. Look at his hand. Okay? All right, so you got him doing it, and you got this statue doing it as well, right? Now look at the statue that they put up in Detroit. All right? Now, I can't really show you this hand here because it's kind of like the way they took the picture, it's not coming out very well. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because a lot of people are going to say, well, look at the difference here. The thumb is out on the Pope's hand, and the thumb is in on Baphomet's hand, right? But here's another statue of Baphomet. Okay, now, yeah, the thumb is in on the right hand of the statue, but look at the left hand. The thumb is out, just like the Pope. Now, here's something else that you need to take a look at, though. A lot of people miss this as well. Look at his belly, okay? And look at the one that's in Detroit. Look at his belly. Looks familiar, don't it? Notice the wings behind Baphomet. And then the two snakes, or serpents rather, that are, surrounding that scepter, if you will. All right? Check this out. That's the AMA logo. Exact same ball on the top as Baphomet. Same ball. All right? Same two serpents spinning around it. And the same two wings behind it. All right? Now, if you go to my website, and the reason I share that thing with the American Medical Association is because a lot of people aren't aware of this. All right? If you go to RCC Exposed and you go down to horrific, you go to Big Pharma in Rome, and you want to check this page out when you get a chance. The Vatican has been caught red-handed, just like Revelation 18, verse 23 said they would be caught. They're in bed with Big Pharma. The word sorceries in Revelation 18, verse 23 is actually from the Greek pharmakia, and that's where we get the word pharmacy today. All right? And then to further nail this down, check out this page on my site. Go to horrific again and go down to the bottom. You might want to check this out. They have been caught holding satanic services. That's right. Satan worshiping services inside the Vatican walls. So I just thought I'd make this video really quick so I can share with everybody as to what's really going on out there. The Vatican's a lot more evil than people realize. It is the perfect way to infiltrate the Christian church. Just like a spy from Russia would come to America and act like an American, you're going to get Satan going into a Christian church acting like a Christian, just like the prophecy said. And so the Vatican has been, in fact, exposed. As a matter of fact, when you get a chance, just go to the Antichrist section of RCC Exposed and go to characteristics of Antichrist. I've done videos on this and everything. But every prophecy that's ever been uttered in the scriptures that has anything to do with Antichrist have been fulfilled by the popes of Rome. And I'm not saying that they're the Antichrist. That's Satan. They're just his puppet, and they will do that which he tells them to do. And I've also done a video on this too as well called Satanism in the Vatican. Satanism practiced by the popes, rather. It's on YouTube. So, and there's one more thing I wanted to add that, in that video I did about Satanism practiced by the popes, I go into a little bit of detail in regards to how the Vatican is structured, and it's actually the form of an upside-down cross. If you go to the end of the video, you'll see what I mean there. You just get, I showed the keyhole to give you an idea, but there's the keyhole. And if you scroll down a little bit in the video, you'll see that on the bottom of the keyhole is an upside-down cross. But when you get a chance, check this out when you go to Google. Just put in Pope's upside-down cross, and you'll get plenty of information there. So thank you for watching. God bless.
Picture is definitely worth 1,000 words, eh? That's one thing I wish. I know Nicholas is probably really busy with these articles and stuff like that, but he's talking about the symbolism of the statue and how it's linked up with Rome, and that's one thing I wish. I would hope that maybe one day he can direct a specific page just dealing with symbols, like how Masonry is connected to Rome regarding symbols, and how symbols is actually the language of the occult, the enlightened ones, and symbols is actually the language of Rome, really, because with the symbols you can actually pinpoint just exactly what is what, and when you learn that language, it really is, again, without a doubt, who the real deal is. So let's go ahead and start the next article. This is out of WorldNet Daily. Islamic Society, the agent of jihad in America. Quote, while there is minor disagreement over the total number, the consensus viewed is that at least 250 Muslims have attempted some form of violent jihad in the United States since 9/11/2001. Of these, 109 were interdicted by U.S. counterterrorism personnel. Another 121 American Muslims were involved in attempting to join, otherwise materially support or finance known terror groups. The remaining 21 succeeded in shedding innocent American blood in the name of Islam. Despite clear evidence to the contrary, our government and major media still argue that true Islam was not the inspiration for any of these attacks. Therefore, we must look to other root causes. End quote. And if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. The main reason they keep trying to put Islam in a positive light is because the Pope demands it. The popes of Rome have openly supported and uplifted Islam over and over again, and no one seems to notice because the media is convinced to do so would be financially as well as political suicide on their part. And with that reality being part of history, we also saw not too long ago the Vatican was the first in the world to command all Catholic schools teach Islam to the children back in 2009, which was less than 1 year after our first Muslim president, Barack Hussein Obama, stood in the White House. Then, directly after that, we saw the Vatican mixing Islam with Christianity to such a degree the term Chrislam became the norm among all those in bed with Rome. Why are they hiding the truth? What I am about to say is what I have been saying for many years. Prophecy clearly says the Christians that refuse to mark will, for the most part, be beheaded. See Revelation 24. We also know there are over 30,000 guillotines in America as we speak. Also see this video. And just so you know, it was also discovered back in December 2013 that Obamacare actually mentions using guillotines on U.S. citizens. In fact, I did a video on that here. I could go on and on, but I assume you're catching my point by now. That all being said, why puff up the Muslim? And I just want to make mention that, it is a strong belief that the Sunday observance and Sunday worship is a big contributor to the mark of the beast. Could be it's a very strong possibility. The Seventh-day Sabbath is also observed by Jews, but they also have something called Noahide laws. Okay, and in those Noahide laws, which I believe Rome is going to use extensively, that those that are of the Goyim, if they are caught observing Saturday Sabbath, then chances are those political Jews could end up being used as lackeys to basically pinpoint and those that are disobeying these Noahide laws and stuff like that. And I do believe the Noahide laws are very strongly connected to the Vatican, in regards that law, those Noahide laws, could very well be used to pinpoint certain Sabbatean Christians, Sabbath-keeping Christians, and these types of things, to be thrown up onto guillotines and have them beheaded. Because actually, violators of the Noahide laws also requires death by sword. So and even though the Jewish people, they're in they're in bed with Rome, knowingly or unknowingly, the political agendas and these types of things, it's very unique, because really, when you look at the aspect of the mark is either in the head or in the forehead, in the hand or in the forehead. Okay, so one can keep the Sabbath all they want, but it's not going to save them. One can sit there and rest for 24 hours from sunset to sunset. It's not going to save them. So just because a religion such as Judaism acknowledges the Sabbath day, does that mean that they are free from eternal torment from taking the mark? No. Because what they do is they just deal in actions only, but the law is not in their hearts. The law is in their deeds. Okay? Not in their hearts. Their laws are based on works. Okay? So in a sense, they're not excluded from this because of the aspect that even though they may acknowledge the day of rest physically, but they deny the creator of that day of rest. And so they deny the aspect of that law spiritually. So that's how I think that could very well play out. And I think the no-high laws could play a very important role in regarding this. Okay, so let me ask you this. Many years ago, I converted all my Bible studies from DBase 3 to HTML when the internet came to town and built a website. Not long after that, I converted the truth-provided newsletters from being snail mail to being emailed. My very first digital newsletter was a repost of a snail mail newsletter that was all about Clinton's executive orders that were actually first penned by Roman Catholic John F. Kennedy and then later given life by Jesuit-trained President Clinton. Those orders are designed to lock down the USA when they are ready to enforce a mark. Yes, they will use a natural disaster of some sort to push the need for martial law forward, and we know this has been in the mix for a few years now, as events like Jade Helm proved. I don't know how many newsletters I did over the years about similar military exercises on U.S. soil that all appear as Jade Helm did, but that's not what my original point is anyway. We all know about the soon-to-come New World Order, and so students of prophecy are prepared for it spiritually. What I mentioned that old newsletter for was the Combat Arms Service survey. I posted at the end of the newsletter that I was privy to thanks to the prison ministry I was working with at the time. That survey was done on our military, and some of our very own soldiers did in fact agree to shoot on a U.S. citizen in order to do so. That wasn't the premise for the survey, but it was bluntly obvious when you came to question number 43. Still, not all of them agreed to kill their neighbors, but sadly some did. Plus, we have to keep in mind, even though it's the very last days, and most people are bone evil just as in Noah's day, those that claim to be Christian, as Isaiah 4:1 and Revelation 3:16 describes, some still claim to be moral while reveling in sin. Even as a plastic Christian, some simply cannot stomach the idea of dropping a blade on their next-door neighbor, co-worker, or classmate, no matter how crazy it gets. But a Muslim will, because his Vatican-inspired Quran confirms he must to please his dying God. And so he will do all he can to have the chance to man those guillotines, because most Muslims believe a dead Christian is their ticket to paradise. And so the popes of Rome have started a positive PR campaign to puff up Islam so as to have that force available when that day comes. And that day is racing towards us at breakneck speeds. That being said, are you ready? Are you sure? Let's go ahead and get to the next article. This week has been very well pinned. I really don't have to do much comments on this, but alright. Next video. This article is a video, so let's go ahead and watch it. Planned Parenthood Press slams video makers. Okay, here we go.
3-year, well-funded effort by the most militant wing of the anti-abortion movement in this country to try to entrap doctors, and of course highly doctored videos which show absolutely, doctors repeatedly said, it's all been edited out, Planned Parenthood does not at all profit from fetal tissue donation, which is an important element of healthcare research in this country. I think what's not told is that, of course, these are highly selectively edited. The folks behind this, in fact, are part of the most militant wing of the anti-abortion movement that has been behind, the bombing of clinics, the murder of doctors in their homes and in their churches. And that's what actually needs to be looked at.
But you have apologized for Dr. Nucatola's tone.
Correct.
In the statements. Reports that she's been reprimanded. So have you spoken to her and the other staff member, Mary Gatter? How have they been reprimanded?
They've been reprimanded for their tone, absolutely. But what I want to really make clear, George, is Planned Parenthood has broken no laws. We have the high...
Okay. This is interesting. Okay, so this woman in the video is an admitted killer of tens of thousands of babies in just the last few months, so of course she is going to lie about those people that caught her employees. Her associated doctors and high-ranking officials in Planned Parenthood admitting on camera that they do in fact profit by selling body parts of dead boys and girls. I have been editing videos for years, and so have tens of millions of other people that post to online video portals daily. One thing we all know is when you want to edit out something someone is saying or edit in something they said, that it's 100% impossible to do so unless you use a second camera to have a transition wherein the choppiness isn't apparent. What I mean is, if I was to go on camera speaking on something and later when I watched a video realized I needed to edit out when I said a word wrong, coughed, or sneezed, it is apparent that when you delete that section of the video, your head jerks to the new position in the video wherein you started to say the word properly, or you're no longer coughing. In short, this woman is lying openly at camera that the video were edited, because when you watch the video, there is no choppiness at all. Yes, there is editing, but her claim they were highly selectively edited falls like a house of cards in an F5 tornado. When you watch the many videos that have been posted, you see the video editor allowing the doctors to speak for long periods of time so as to get the full context of their statement. Again, yes, they were edited so as to make them shorter, because no one wants to sit through 2 to 4 hours of videotape waiting for the moments they say something bad. And I hope also this takes away the argument of, oh, well, you're just taking things out of context, when some people will quote Obama from saying a sentence or two, but, oh, well, you just totally forgot the whole context of the issue. It's like, well, regardless of the fact he said it, you know, or she said it, or they said it. So, one more thing. This woman claims the ones making the videos are behind the bombings and murders of doctors in their homes and churches. Those people were caught and are in jail right now. But then when you are so embroiled in the blood of innocent lives as this woman is, it's to be expected that she will make those seeking to save the lives of those little boys and girls out to be murderers, when in fact, by her own admission, she and all associated with her are, in fact, one of the worst killers in human history. I say one of the worst because the Vatican still holds the title of the worst, chiming in at 500 million dead. Yes, I'm fully aware it's legal to kill your children in the USA, but we all know just because our corrupt politicians claim it's legal doesn't mean it's okay to do. Commandment number 6 clearly says it's sin. Now do you see why they hate Christ so much? His law exposes their law with as much ease as a candle can dispel the darkness in a cave. Please pray for Cecil Richards. If she doesn't repent soon, she will be held accountable for all those dead boys and girls by the very God that etched those commandments in stone. She can claim we broke no laws all she likes on as many videos she likes. That's no excuse when the law of God was written so plain that even a child with a grade school education can see that when it said, "Thou shalt not kill." It means you should not kill. Period. Again, plain as day statement, plain as day commentary. Next article, which is another video. Let's go ahead and watch it. For WorldNet Daily. I don't feel like editing out my coughs, though. Sometimes I do, but sometimes it's really late.
Also say that Africa's democratic progress is also at risk when leaders refuse to step aside when their terms end. Now, let me be honest with you. I do not understand this. I am in my second term. It has been an extraordinary privilege for me to serve as the President of the United States. I can't imagine a greater honor or a more interesting job. I love my work. But under our Constitution, I cannot run again. I can't run again. I actually think I'm a pretty good president. I think if I ran, I could win. But I can't. So there's a lot that I'd like to do to keep America moving. But the law is the law. And no one person is above the law, not even the president. And I'll be honest with you, I'm looking forward to life after being president. I won't have such a big security detail all the time. It means I can go take a walk. I can spend time with my family. I can find other ways to serve. I can visit Africa more often. The point is, I don't understand why people want to stay so long. Especially when they've got a lot of money. When a leader tries to change the rules in the middle of the game just to stay in office.
Okay, well, that was interesting. That's all well and good, but as we know, Obama and his cohorts in Congress and Rome have been drafting a brand new constitution ever since this man stepped into the Oval Office. Now, yes, I am fully aware that Obama, is acting as if this is all a big joke, but all this talk about a third term is starting to get a bit obvious lately. What I mean is, were you aware that 39% of the Democratic Party wants him to run for a third term? There's a bill that has been introduced not too long ago that will abolish presidential term limits. Did you know Rush Limbaugh believes Obama will still be president after his term ends? And WorldNet Daily actually stated that if Obama decided to stay in office in 2017, there would be little or no opposition to him being there. Or what if Fox News claiming a third term is possible for Obama? It's gotten so apparent now that one news group was chided for not treating Obama as an emperor back in January of 2013. Race riots? Well, did you also know that in the event there is a national issue that causes martial law to be enforced, that all elections will be indefinitely suspended? How easy would it be for Obama or any other politician under his thumb to create a false flag attack that would, number one, cause riots, number two, cause a disaster, or number three, cause civil unrest coast to coast where martial law is declared and all elections ceased? Now, the papal factor in all this is, and yes, you had to know I will go here as this is my duty as a watchman on the wall. After all, since my Bible does go into such a detail on this, am I expected to bypass it just because it's unpopular for some? That being said, you are aware the Pope is planning to speak to Congress on September 22nd, 2015, right? That being the case, were you also aware that every time a Pope visits a nation, drastic changes or drastic disasters seem to suddenly happen to that nation not long after he leaves? So that's another key point there you might want to pay attention to, is after he departs from this nation. With the nations that will bow to the Pope's suggestions during his visit, the people there always experience sudden changes that are usually in the order of additional unjust laws that remove freedoms and benefit Roman power. As for the nations that refuse to do as the Pope suggests, you always see drastic changes, disasters, and everything from mishaps that cause a large-scale destruction to assassinations of political leaders. In any event, one can expect after September 22nd, we here in the USA will see some drastic changes that further remove freedoms that will also grant Rome more power over the individual citizen. Why do I say that? As prophesied, the USA has already bowed to Rome and will do whatever the Pope suggests. Next video. And it is a video, so let's go ahead and watch it.
Hey everyone, I just got a video that I think everybody needs to take a look at. Obama says something in this video that literally made my jaw drop. Now, as we know, he just visited Kenya, and the people, as well as the president in Kenya, did not want him speaking about dirty things, as they call it. Then, after discussing all that, Obama said this on camera. Check it out.
I am not a fan of discrimination and bullying of anybody on the basis of race, on the basis of religion, on the basis of sexual orientation or gender.
Okay, now, here's where we have a problem. He not only stands behind the Roman Catholic Supreme Court's decision to allow for homosexual marriage, he was the very first president in U.S. history to spearhead the final movements of the Vatican's homosexual agenda in America. This is something that this ministry has been reporting on for over 30 years. And in so doing, it assured a positive outcome when the Supreme Court finally assembled so as to legalize the exact same abomination that angered the Christian God in Noah's day. And then, when that long prophesied legalization came on June 26, Obama actually chose to mock the Christian God by bathing the White House in the same rainbow the Lord used to declare his promise. Mr. Obama, you just claimed in this video that you're not a fan of bullying of any kind. And he even went so far as to claim you didn't believe in religious discrimination. But what do you call it when Christians are run out of their businesses, fired from jobs, kicked out of schools, court-martialed in the military, and fined massive fines that are larger than mortgages when refusing to do as you and your bullying court demands? You know, the promise of the Christian God will be kept. He will not send water to destroy the earth this time. According to the very God you mock, he will be using something much worse than water. Mr. Obama, you, like any other person on this planet, needs to look into what the prophetic word of God says about the soon coming plagues of Revelation. Specifically, plague number 7.
We have heard that in the US they have allowed gay relations and other dirty things.
Yeah. Well, I disagree with him on that, don't I?
Thank you for watching. God bless.
After witnessing what happened on June 26, 2015, after seeing laws being passed that specifically declare the Bible illegal, Obama is standing as a leader in Rome's sodomite agenda around the world. And then he has the audacity to say this on camera. Such staggering hypocrisy. Please pray for Obama and all our leaders. They are obviously walking hand in hand with Beelzebub and have no clue as to where he is leading them. Next article. Crazy Hillary theory, new Chuck Norris fact. This out of WorldNet Daily. Quote, in the original commentary, Chuck Norris talks about the Cloward-Piven political strategy, a well-known political plan created by 2 Columbia University sociologists to deliberately overload the U.S. public welfare system with the goal of causing its collapse. You see, it's a win-win-win-win-win to socialist Cloward-Piven progressives like Obama and Hillary. Illegals flood the country, illegals get driver's license, illegals get voter rights, illegals get welfare benefits, illegals overload the U.S. welfare system, illegals keep progressives in office, who crown the Cloward-Piven strategy and the fundamental transformation of America as a victory. Now do you see why the Pope is doing all he can to push what he calls spreading the wealth campaign? Okay, I get it. For those new to this site, and for those still trapped in the Roman Catholic Church, you all may think that I am obsessed with the popes of Rome, but the truth is, I am blessed by the truth of Jesus Christ. The popes just happen to be his main enemy in the flesh that is guided by his archenemy in the angelic. The Pope is merely doing as Satan moves him to do, and that's simply the easiest way to explain it. Clarify? What I am about to say is only for those that actually read the Bible. Now, this includes the strong as well as the lukewarm Christians, because both of you know what it says in the Bible when it comes to how things are supposed to happen on earth all throughout history. The Bible does have a tendency to go up into quite a bit more detail when it comes to the end of history, or end days as we call it. That all being said, whether you're a strong or weak Christian, you know there is a God in heaven and a devil on earth, and the word of the God in heaven goes into detail as to what happens to the people who make the decisions to worship either one. Worship God, you gain eternal life. Worship Satan, you gain eternal death. No gray areas there. Okay, now that we have the foundation set, all Christians, weak or strong, know the Bible has prophecy in it. And all of us on this planet, this includes all people, Christians or not, know that something is happening worldwide. We all see the disasters. We all see the strange weather patterns. We all see the strange unjust laws being passed. We all see the war and hear the rumors of wars. We all see crime literally off the charts. We all see the disease that can't even be numbered. We all see the economic problems. We all see leaders lying daily. We all see sodomites being married. We all see plans for pedophiles, necrophiliacs, and even people in bestiality gaining acceptance in society. We all see how immoral mankind has gotten. We all hear of demonic possession in people from all walks of life. We see knowledge in both technology, the spiritually blessed and demonic occult advancing greatly. We all know about the signs in the heavens. We all see the earthquakes, sinkholes, animals dying, fish dying, birds dying, insects dying, and people committing suicide much more than ever before in history. And we all see fear boiling up in the hearts of many. So even if you're not a Christian, you know something strange is going on. So what's up? Now, I don't expect the atheist, Muslim, Buddhist, Satanist, Zoroastrian, or Jew to get this, but even a lukewarm Christian know all those things I listed above were in fact prophesied to happen right before Jesus gets here. And since we know these are prophetic events, and we know 100% of them were confirmed as being prophesied first in the Christian Bible thousands of years before coming to fruition, the fact the Bible also talks about the little horn or unholy fathers of Rome, we must then realize that since we are in the last days, and it is prophesied that the popes will go forth with their network of demon-possessed priests to do the work of Satan in society in such a blanketed fashion that we now have rock-hard evidence of them doing their duty for hell in Congress, the Senate, all churches, all schools, all communities, and over 1 billion families around the world. That being said, why do people claim I'm obsessed with the popes when all I'm doing is pointing out what our God already penned in his word? In short, since I am not the one that wrote the Bible, and I'm only one of many messengers on the wall, you do realize that when you say that you're actually slamming the author of the Bible that loved you enough to tell you the truth. As for those of you that see what I see, I have no doubt you also see the laughter, taunts, sneers, and even threats as well. I must say I prefer your company over those that come against you. In short, keep up the good work, brethren. Next article. From August 3rd, 2015. This is out of Remnant of God issue, main page. Oh, it's okay. Let's see. Oh, okay. Let's see. Alright, this is from Enterprise News. We took this, and I guess this is a continuation of the story. So, student stunning plea. Why did New York City let me graduate high school? Melissa Magia, 18, was stunned and embarrassed when officials at William Cullen Bryant High School in Long Island City, Queens, told her she had met all the requirements to receive a diploma in June. She knew she hadn't. Teachers say Melissa is just one of a number of students magically given credits for classes they failed in an effort by administrators to raise Bryant's graduation rate. She told her story to the Post's Susan Edelman. I don't like receiving what I would call a handout, but that's what happened. New York City gave me a diploma I didn't deserve. I admire her honesty. In my last semester at Bryant High School, I had government for first period, which starts at 8 a.m. I had a lot of trouble getting up in the morning. I didn't really go at all. I think I showed up about 5 times in the first marking period. In the second marking period, my attendance was also poor. I got a 55 for both, which is an F. Okay. So yes, stories like this hit home for me at times, and this one reminds me of when I was in high school in a big way. I too had trouble getting up in the morning, but I would usually come to class anyway because I was the one that had to drive my siblings to school. But once in the school, I would put my head down on my desk and sleep the first 2 classes away. Needless to say, I got straight F's across the board for those classes, but somehow passed them anyway. In fact, my first class was history, or U.S. government, like this girl, and since I already did some research as a bored teen in the library waiting on for my mom to check out her books, I knew what the truth was regarding certain things about our government and other governments in association with the USA. I knew what the teachers were selling in those textbooks wasn't the same as what I saw in the microfilms at the library, and so I figured, since they're all lying anyway, they won't mind if I ignore them and nod off. Still, I passed those classes anyway. The scuttlebutt, of course, was the teachers that passed me did so because they didn't want me back in their classrooms next year. They knew I was a problem, but it wasn't until years later that I found out the school received government bonuses for high graduation rates, and even though math wasn't my best subject, I was able to see how 2 plus 2 wasn't adding up when it came to my actual grades and what my official grade was. My hoodlum-flavored antics eventually caused me to be expelled from the school, so in my case, the graduation numbers didn't really matter. I just figured they would chalk me up as one that fell through the cracks and moved on in life well. That's what I thought for a few years until a decade or so later I had to take a NASD exam to sell products for Prudential Life Insurance Company. And yes, on the Prudential app, I lied and said I graduated high school hoping no one would check. I wasn't a Christian yet, of course. I of course got the job thinking my lie worked. Later, when I had to take the NASD exam, I lied on that government app once again. But when they allowed me to take the exam away, I got just a tad bit suspicious. But when they allowed me to take the exam anyway, I got just a tad bit suspicious. I knew the NASD was strict because the future Mayor Daley was caught cheating on a similar exam, and so all government exams locked down tighter after that day. But I know I lied, and I know they let me take the exam. So, I called and asked the Prudential to see if they called my school about my graduation. I gave some lame excuse, lied again, as to why I needed the info, and it did take a little digging from office to office, but I did eventually find out by a reputable source that they did in fact call the school, and according to the school records, now on computer, had me listed as graduated. The moral of the story? Do you want your child to get a real education? Then homeschool them. It's not as difficult as you think. However, if you want your child to learn how to lie, cheat, do drugs, have sex, enjoy satanic music, delve into the occult, join gangs, become tempted and or taught to become sodomites, or even be murdered by a crazed classmate, then have them go to government schools. Don't believe the schools are that bad? No. You can click on this article here. And there's quite a bit of information here that you can look into. Now, for those that are stuck in a two-income family or are single parents or just unable to do homeschooling, check into it. You may find it can be done, but one of the parents will have to quit their job. As for the single parent, pray. Pray the Lord keeps a hedge of strong angels about your child's soul as well, as their mind, and He will. If you're a Christian, your Father will bless you. If you're not, well, you're on your own. But if you want to become a Christian, you can click on this link here. And it goes all through the prerequisites and everything like that. So, and then last article is Ashley Madison hookup site. No private affair for Brockton man. This is out of Enterprise News. The Ashley Madison homepage shows a picture of a woman with her index finger over her closed lips. On her ring finger is a wedding band, the first line in the privacy policy of the matchmaking site, intended for spouses who stray. Said the site is firmly committed to privacy. That's news to a Brockton person who became the first person exposed by a group who hacked the popular site in hopes of one day shutting it down. With 37 million members to choose from, the group chose this person's biography to publish to prove it meant business. Yes, I know this is a week or two old, but it's been sitting on the bottom of the stack too long, and it has to be said. What's going on with this Ashley Madison hack is par for our course in today's society. I heard about this story when it first broke like everyone else, but the idiocy of it all annoyed me too much to comment. But when I heard that 37 million people are members of this website and that this is only one site out of many, that got me a tad upset. I mean, how many adults are there in America? According to the most recent online census, out of 300 plus million people, only 29.9% were under 18. and 14.1% were over 65. That means 56% are over 18 and under 65. Let's do a rough estimate and say only 30% of that are married couples between the ages of 30 to 50. That would mean 90 million people are married and well over 1/3 of them are members of a cheating website. Now that's only based on one adultery-driven website. There's got to be dozens of such websites out there by now. Their slogan, "Life is short, have an affair," confirms just what prophecy said would happen in today's world. To think there are people out there actually making money purposely destroying marriages makes my blood boil, but then there are also people out there making money selling alcohol, porn, aborted baby parts, and drugs, just to name a few. Lusts of the flesh that was no different than Noah and Lot's days, most assuredly the norm for our day. It's bad enough we've had porn for decades, which, by the way, like sodomy, it too was illegal at one time in America because the lawmakers knew how such things would cause our society to crumble. But those moral politicians were eventually replaced by the ones we have today that revel in such things. And now, after decades of ignoring the preachers and Christians out there trying to get people to stop bowing to the flesh, society has crumbled to the exact same cesspool of sin Noah saw in his day. Silver lining? Yes, there actually is one in all this. It's in the reality that all this legal decadence confirms Jesus is coming soon, and those of us that, like Lot, are daily vexed in our spirits know we are very close to home. And that, my friends, is going to conclude this week's prophecy in the news. And this should hopefully be uploaded by Wednesday, August 5th. I covered from Monday, July 27th, all the way up through today, Tuesday, August 4th, to be uploaded Wednesday, August 5th. So until next time, truth be told, truth be known, stay safe, God bless, we will see you next time. Bye-bye. I'd like to welcome you to another reading of Prophecy in the News, as written by Nicholas from remnantofgod.org. And today we're going to be covering from July 27th to August 4th. And I do want to apologize for missing last week. I was really exhausted and tired, and that's also the reason why I link you to this website with every single weekly video I do, so that if I don't get to a week's reading, then all the information is right there. All you gotta do is just click on the link that I give you and then follow along. But I do tend to, I do try to keep up to date as much as possible, as much as I can, and I just want to apologize up front for missing last week. Also on my broadcast, I am gonna be starting to do either a weekly or bi-weekly. Obviously, it's bi-weekly. I do have a broadcast coming up Saturday, in which we're going to talk about some current events about the beast out of the earth that is promoting the beast out of the sea. We're going to talk about some recent events that's going on with that, and also the aspect that we are roughly, we're roughly a little over a month away, about 6 weeks before the man of sin, the Antichrist, the son of perdition, the biblical, historical, prophetic Antichrist comes to speak at a joint session of Congress in September. So there's going to be a lot of interesting things that's going to be going, and have meetings all over the USA via teleconferencing or even face-to-face regarding the Vatican's long prophesied agenda regarding climate change that will, of course, allow them to control all nations city by city so as to be able to enforce the mark of the beast. The testing grounds and first to implement the mark is obviously the USA. Reason being is, of course, our superior technology already in place that will be used to try, I emphasize the word try here, and stop the loud cry of prophecy, says will go forth that not only exposes the man of sin in Rome, it alerts the masses as to what the mark of the beast really is. And I do want to apologize. My mouse is just jumping like crazy. I don't know why it's doing that. So this is going to be kind of a hard video to get through. Okay. Seeing how Rome knows what the Lord plans to do in the coming days, because they do hear our message just as much as anyone else does, they need to have everything set in place to try and prevent the majority from hearing the truth we preach, just as the Philistines did with Goliath, so as to assume foolishly, of course, that they will be able to prevent or at least slow the prophesied loud cry from doing what they know and will do. So why were they clapping? Well, that's easy. It has to do with Revelation 13:3-4, prophesied 2,000 years ago. It said, "And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wandered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him?" All throughout history, the Roman Catholic Church has appealed to the masses merely because sin is very appealing to the lost, who think if they just say they know Jesus, they will gain heaven. See Isaiah 4:1. Going on, I do believe, between now and September. You know, we also have the last of the blood moon eclipses, lunar eclipses, in September, roughly in the same week as this man of sin, as this Antichrist, the Antichrist, comes to these shores. So let's go ahead and get started. There's going to be a lot of videos here within this broadcast, and so without further ado, let's go ahead and read the first article. This is out of BostonHerald.com. Marty Walsh. This is history here in Vatican. Quote, Boston Mayor Martin J. Walsh, who was one of 35 mayors who traveled to Rome, was awestruck after his meeting with Pope Francis yesterday, telling Boston Herald Radio's Tyler Sullivan on Fargo Street that he had an incredible opportunity to hear the pontiff discuss human trafficking and global warming. In Walsh's own words, he describes the experience, quote, "It's hard to put in words, you know. When the Pope came in the room, everyone just clapped to him walking in. And then after a few seconds, complete silence. And I think everyone was in awe of the Pope and, you know, and seeing the Pope. People are like awestruck of this man. Even though he is the prophesied man of sin, Antichrist, and these types of things, but folks, he's just a human being. He's nothing to be awestruck over. But the world is deceived. And we live in a land of confusion within the Christian church, within the church. So first and foremost, why are United States city mayors meeting with the Pope? Do you study prophecy? Do you know what time it is? No? Okay, to quickly summarize, they were handpicked, all 35 of them, because the Vatican assumes these mayors will obey I had the right one.
I believe in the principle of treating people equally under the law, and that they are deserving of equal protection under the law, and that the state should not discriminate against people based on their sexual orientation. If you look at the history of countries around the world, when you start treating people differently, not because of any harm they're doing anybody, but because they're different, that's the path whereby freedoms begin to erode. And bad things happen.
The fact of the matter is that Kenya, United States, we share so many values. Our common love for democracy, entrepreneurship, value for families. These are things that we share. But there are some things that we must admit we don't share. Our culture, our societies don't accept. It's very difficult for us to be able to impose on people that which they themselves do not accept. This is why I repeatedly say that for Kenyans today, the issue of gay rights is really a non-issue. We want to focus on other areas that are day-to-day living for our people. The health issues that we have discussed with President Obama, these are critical. Issues of ensuring inclusivity and of women, a huge section of society that is normally left out of the mainstream of economic development. What we can do in terms of...
Most will say that Rome must be the true church because of its immense size, but looking to Scripture, one can see that size is a true giveaway that it is the prophesied evil church most wonder after in the last days. Case in point, all the world thought Noah and his family were wrong about the coming flood and the end of the world. Only 8 people on the planet were walking with God at that time. As always, a majority on this dying world is to be those that are friends with the world. And so when one of them stand on top of the world as a leader in worldliness, as all the popes have done, most will wander after him, as the Lord said they would. And obviously, I mean, you just got to think of the agenda of the papacy. So not only is it ecclesial, but it's also political. And when it comes to politics, folks, we as a church, we are not to have anything to do with the policies and the politics of this world. And as long as governments, as long as kings and queens are not going against the standard of God, we are to oblige by those powers. All you gotta do, case in point, is just look at Daniel. But at the same time, we have to realize that our kingdom is not on this earth. We serve a king whose kingdom is not of this world. So those that follow after this king, the King of Kings, Jesus Christ, have to acknowledge that same aspect. Okay? Not get all tangled up with, politics and gun grabbing and these types of things. It's all really what it is. It's all distraction. That's really what it is, what it boils down to. Next article. And this is a video, so let's go ahead and watch it. Out of USA Today.